Hi everyone, my name is Apom Productions, and this is a video of my attempt at a Pokemon Heartgold Nuzlocke using only flying types. Before we talk about the possible encounters of this challenge, let's go over the Hardcore Nuzlocke Rules for this attempt, which are 1. Pokemon that faint in battle are dead and must be boxed permanently. All Pokemon caught must be given a name. 3. Only the first encounters in any area can be caught. 4. Battle mode must be on set. 5. No items can be used in battle, but held items are okay. No overleveling past the next gym leader's highest level Pokemon, e.g. it's aced. Now, as for the possible encounters for this flying type challenge, can be seen below, with the exclusion of Skarmory, since it's exclusive to Soul Silver version of the game, with us playing the Heartgold version. Dragonite, since Dragonair only evolves at level 50, which is past the level cap for the first part of the game. And finally Gyarados, since overall it's a too powerful Pokemon due to it being able to learn a number of different moves that gives us great type coverage during the game, along with its great stats, which would result in this challenge being easier than it should be, so I decided to exclude it to make the challenge much harder. Now overall I found this an interesting challenge in that it forced me to use Pokemon that I would normally never use, such as Xatu and Fearow, barring as spy slaves, which forced me to come up with strategies when it came to certain gyms where a flying type would be not an ideal to be used, and of course against the Dragon Master himself, Lance. But without any further rambling on my part, let's begin. We start off like all Pokemon journeys, leaving home at the mature age of 10 and head to the scientist next door to find about the art of forcing animals to battle for money. I then get to choose my starter. Now since none of them are flying types, we are not able to use them during this challenge, and so choose Cyndaquil, since it gives our rival a Totodile, who eventually gets an Ice Fang, which gives our rival a better advantage over our team, and name the Cyndaquil box for its final destination. I then have my first battle with the red hair Ronder, and then beat him with minimum difficulty. For some reason he dropped his wallet and I learned his true name. The police then asked for the Clefto's name, so I call him Ronald McDonald after my childhood hero. I then catch my true starter of Pidgey and name her Azula, and then I catch a Caterpie and name it Katara, who then evolved into Metapod when it reached level 8. I then had to backtrack a bit to catch a Spearow and name it Tai Li, and then caught a Zubat and named it Toph, and finally caught a Hoppip who I called Aang. Just before I took on Falconer, Katara evolved into Butterfree, who gained some very useful status moves, as well as Confusion, after we beat up some monks in the tower. I then decided to take on Falconer. I lead with Katara, who took down his Pidgey with 2 Confusions. Falconer then sent out his ace Pidgeotto, who with a Gust was able to bring us down just over half health, and I retaliated with a Sleep Powder and just kept hitting with a combination of Confusion and Sleep Powder until the Pidgeotto went down. With that, we were to get our first gym badge of the run. Then after some Slowpoke weirdness, I challenged Bugsy for the second gym badge. He led with a Scyther, and I led with Tai Li, who after surviving a critical hit with only 5 health left, I took it down with 1 aerial ace. I then swapped into Azula to take on Metapod and Kakuna, who, let's be honest, are not the greatest threats, with both going down to a few gusts, which wins us the second gym badge of the run. I then ran into Ronald, who got annoyed when we asked for Big Mac, and picked a fight. He led with a Ghastly that went down to 2 pursuits from Tai Li, and then sent out his Blue Bonnie, who Tai Li was able to bring down to red, and Katara was then brought in and made Bonnie go home with 1 Confusion. Katara then took down Ronald's Zubat with 2 powerful Confusions. Azula, after some training, then evolved into Pidgeotto, and then due to it being the right day, I was able to catch a fighter as part of the bug catching contest and name him Iroh. After some additional training, I then decided to take on the run killer known as Whitney, with the strategy of using Protect to stop all her rollouts building in power. She led with Clefairy, while I sent out Katara. I was then able to land a powerful Sleep Powder to try to whittle down its HP, but Whitney, being that sort of trainer, used Super Potion to restore its health to full, but it went down after a few more Confusions. She then sent out Miltank, who after a mixture of Protect and status move spamming, I was able to land the killing blow with Iroh after he survived a rollout that left him with only 2 HP and won us the 3rd gym badge of the run. Then on the way to the fourth gym, Ty Lee evolved into Pharaoh and Ang into Skiploom. I then went to the Burn Tower where I met a guy obsessed with Suicune and Ronald who was I was able to take down without any major problems. Just before I went to the fourth gym, Toph evolved into Golbash, and after some more training we took on Morty. I led with Iroh against Ghastly, who took it down with one pursuit. Gengar then went down with two pursuits, and the two hunters left then each went down to one pursuit each, with Iroh proving to be the tank of the team. Toph then evolved into Crobat after all the running I did to raise its happiness, and on the way to the fifth gym I caught a Mantine and named it Katara without realizing my naming mistake much later than I like to admit, so let's just call Mantine Utter Katara for the time being. After I saved Chuck from under a waterfall, because Pokemon logic, I took on our fifth gym. I led with Ty Lee, who was able to take down his Primeage with two aerial aces, and do the same to his Poliwrath to get the fifth gym badge of the run. I then backtracked to the Elf Ruins and caught a Natu, and then headed for the seventh gym badge. First I had to team up with Hiccup and Toothless to defeat Team Rocket's Arena, who went down without any major problems. After some training, UA evolved into Xatu, and then I taught him Light Screen to help deal with the super effective ice moves from the battle against Price. Then after some additional training, I took on Price, who led with Seal, while I led with UA. I was able to land a Confuse Ray and set up a Light Screen before I swapped into Iroh, who took Seal down with one ring attack. Dewgong was then sent out, who uses Ice Shard on Iroh, but he survives it thanks to the Light Screen that was set up, who then finishes with two wing attacks. Price then sends out Swine while I swap in Katara, who tanked the blizzard and won the battle with two surfs and won us the 7th gym badge of the run. I then saved the lighthouse in Olivine City by curing Ampharos, which allowed us to take on Jasmine for the 6th gym badge, and before this battle I taught Rock Smash to Iroh so he could deal with her Magnemites. She led with Magnemite while I chose UA, who set up a light screen to protect Iroh from Thunderbolt, and Wish before I swapped into Iroh, who tanked the Thunderbolt and was then restored to full health thanks to the Wish that was set up. He then takes down the two Magnemites with one Rock Smash each. Jasmine then brought out her Steelix, and I swapped into Katara, who tanked a Rock Throw and then nabbed us to win with one Surf to get the 6th gym badge of the run. Before I was able to head to the 8th gym, I had to defeat Team Rocket, who took over the radio tower, and I worked my way up to the top where I fought Archer. He led with Houndour, who went down to one Surf from Katara. He then sent out Houndoom, who Katara took down with two Surfs after it survived its faint attacks. And finally I swapped in Toph, who took down his Coughing with two Air Cutters and a Bite. Once I got to Blackturn City, I was able to catch a Gligar and name it Ozai. Then after some additional training, Aang evolved into Jumpluff, who I needed for the strategy I had in mind to deal with Claire. After some more training, I then decided to take on Claire. She led with Gyarados, while I led with Aang, who landed a powerful Sleep Powder and Leech Seed. I then whittled down its health with Mega Drain and Leech Seed until it went down. Dragonair was then sent out, who thankfully missed a super effective Fire Blast and was able to land a powerful Sleep Powder and Leech Seed to whittle down its health as well. I then U-turned into Katara to avoid any more super effective Fire Blasts, and other Katara then landed us a super effective Blizzard that one-shot the Dragonair, and the second Dragonair was sent out, went down to 3 Surfs as well. She finally sent out Kingdra, and then I swapped into Aang, who tanked a Dragon Pulse, and then was able to land a Sleep Power and Leech Seed, after which I swapped in Toph, who landed a Confused Way. Then swapped in UA, who set up a Light Screen, and finally I swapped in Iroh, who finished the battle and won us the 8th gym badge of the run. I was then taken to Ho-Ho Tower, where a bunch of Kimono Kills summoned the Ultra Mega and Super Chicken, who I then ran from since I am a coward, and with that chicken cooked, I then made my way to the Elite Four with my final team made up for the final battles ahead. Will led with Xatu, who was two-shotted with Night Slash from Iroh. Jinx, his second Xatu, and Executor each went down to one Night Slash, and finally Slowbro went down to 2 X-Scissors from Iroh, which left us with a great start with no deaths so far, hopefully to continue throughout the run. Koga led with Aerodose, who went down to one fly by Toph, with Venomoth suffering the same fate, and Fortress, who was then sent out, who Toph landed a Confuse Ray on before I swapped into Katara, who took it down with 2 Surfs. The Muck, who loves Minimize, was then sent out, so I swapped into Ozai, who thankfully was able to take it down with 2 Earthquakes. And finally, the Crobat that spams Double Team was sent out, so I swapped in Toph, who landed a Confuse Ray. I then took a risk and swapped in Katara to land a Sleep Powder, but before she could, she was brought into red, so I swapped in Aang. He then tanked a super effective ring attack before he retaliated with a Sleep Powder and Leech Seed, after which I swapped into Katara, who whittled down its health with a Surf before I swapped into Toph, who eventually took down Koga's Crobat with a combination of Fly, Leech Seed and Confuse Ray, which once again showed how underrated Leech Seed is as an offensive move. Bruno led with Hitmontop, who Toph hit with a Poison Fang to avoid a KO from counter if Fly was used. He then swapped in Onyx, who used a Rock Slide, which Toph tanked like a beast, and then I swapped in other Katara, who took down Onyx down with a few Waterfalls and a Surf, after which he then sent out Hitmonchan, so I brought in Ozai, who tanked what I thought was a Thunder Fang, but was an Ice Punch that Ozai only survived in the red, which forced me to swap into Iroh. Iroh then one-shotted a wing attack, after which he did the same to Hitmonlee, Machamp, and Hitmontop, each going down to the same fate. Eren led with Umbreon, who Aang scored a Sleep Powder and Leech Seed on, which allowed me to U-turn into Iroh, who took it down with 1 X-Scissors, followed by Murkrow then going down to 3 X-Scissors from Iroh. Houndoom, who was then brought out, who I knew would go for Flamethrower, so I swapped into other Katara to tank it, who then took it down with 2 Surfs, after which he sent out Vileplume, who went down to 2 Flies by Toph, and finally Gengar, who then sent out that Toph landed a Confused Ray on, which allowed for a clean swap to Iroh, who took Gengar down with a Night Slash plus a Confusion Ray assist. Finally, I took on the Dragon Master himself, Hiccup, with a strategy I hoped would work. He led with Gyarados, who was brought down to red thanks to Aang with a combination of Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, and Giga Drain before the last Airbender went down, but it did allow for Toph to take Gyarados down with a Poison Fang, after which he sent out Aerodactyl. Toph then scored a Confused Ray and Poison on the Jurassic Park reject, after which it brought it down to the yellow health with a Poison Fang and status assist before it took it down after he survived a super effective Aerial Ace with just 2 HP. Dragonite was then brought out, so I decided to sacrifice Toph to get a clean sweep into Katara, who outsped it thanks to Choice Scarf to score a Sleep Powder, after which I then swapped in other Katara, who one-shotted it, and the second Dragonite, both with Blizzard. The third Dragonite sent out then survived the first Blizzard by other Katara thanks to Safeguard, but went down to the second Blizzard, and finally he sent out Charizard, so I swapped in Ozai to get a clean swap into Katara, who missed the first Sleep Powder thanks to Safeguard, but somehow survived a super effective Air Slash, after which he scored the second Sleep Powder once the Safeguard was gone. I then swapped into other Katara, but Charizard then awoke only after 1 turn, which was fair, and brought down to red, but landed a Surf before I swapped into Iroh, who brought Charizard down to 2 HP before Iroh the tank fell. After the clean swap into Katara, with Katara landed a Sleep Powder, which then allowed me to swap into other Katara, who by some miracle from above one-shotted it with a Surf and won us the battle against Hiccup for this run. Well, that went okay, I guess, for my first Nuzlocke, barring only the Katara twins surviving at the end. But if you're wondering what the naming method for this video was based on, it was the Avatar The Last Airbender. I know there is also a Kanto part to this game, and if you guys would like to see me try that out, then try to get this video to 50 likes. But if you enjoyed, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment on what challenge I should do next. This has been Apon Productions, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye!